All right, guys, I think we're live, up and running. We have, looks like about a dozen people waiting for us.
All right.
Better get down to business then.
Well, my side says 0 people. Must be me. It must be me. Well, happy Friday, everyone. I am Brian with Arrowhead Garage and my 67 Firebird behind me. And the guy down over this way, sideways, from New Hampshire.
The other way.
The other way.
It's the other way?
You'll figure it out someday.
Yeah, I'm Mike from Lake and Lodge Garage.
That guy?
That guy down there, John from the old Vinyl Village Garage. You got the 69 Bird turd and the 68 Rusty Crusty turd, but we're making progress. So
I'm Louis from First Generation Garage.
All right. I'm just saying hello to people here. And my return to work.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about wiring today, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Who wants to start?
Yeah, where do you start, right? We left some things out last week, so we didn't go down that rabbit hole because we could start out with do you fix the factory harness? Do you buy a replacement factory, or you do, aftermarket like painless wiring? Or there's quite a few manufacturers now, so there's pros and cons to all of that. But who wants to go with what? So
Right.
Well, I'll start.
Not everybody at one time.
So I went with the painless wiring harness, and I was integrating also with an LS harness from Blueprint Engines that I purchased with the engine that I bought. So, and I got to say, I was super happy with this. I had a lot of bad experiences back in high school with my 56 with hard and cracked wiring and, stuff that just, I didn't want to go there again.
Right.
And I was super impressed with this book. I mean, literally every wire in the harness is labeled. You know exactly where it goes. It all has a number. Take a little time and wean out of the fuse box the pieces that you're not going to use. And that helps. But I was very, very impressed with this kit. It had way more stuff than I needed, but I liked it. I thought it was great. And the thing I really like about it is when it was all done, I knew where every wire was and what every wire was. And, a lot of times with an older factory harness, you're like, where does that go? And I didn't, I was super impressed with it.
Now, are the wires labeled from end to end with the printing on what each circuit is?
All the way down, every 6 inches or so, there's a number and a number and the actual use. And then in the back of this book, that's, it basically comes down and says, okay, a blue wire, number 925 is right front turn signal, and it's 16 gauge.
Nice.
So, there's an index in the back, and you can see I highlighted and crossed out some things for different pieces that I wasn't going to need, like the coil wire and the coolant temp signal. That was all on my LS harness.
Sure.
So, and plus I was also using the Dakota digital gauge set. So, I kind of felt it was worth it for me to start fresh for everything, have new stuff and then not worry about it.
Now, also, you said that also adds a ground wire to the taillight sockets?
It does. It has ground wires to the taillight sockets and an independent ground lug in the rear of the car. There was actually a little separate ground harness for the front, for the rear taillights and the headlights. So in the headlight section, it comes back to a little harness and the same thing back there. So I'm super happy with the kit.
When you tell me stuff like that, I almost want to think I want to try doing that. I've always just done factory style harnesses because that way, like it's kind of like your book you have. I got a wiring diagram that anybody could look up and have, just like right there Brian has.
Yep. Yeah.
So, again, pros and cons, but I've always just gone back to original. Now, I've done an LS swap. I morphed the two together, but I left all the original harness basically intact. So.
I had a couple of original harnesses. I ended up giving them to Louis, but the problem they have with original harnesses too, they're always covered with paint. You don't know. You're trying to figure out what color is what.
What's been
hard
spliced,
and
what's
brittle. So,
yeah.
yeah. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, so I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. This has a book. This will be great.
Nice. Oh. There we go. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I prefer a factory wiring harness. I don't know what it is, if it's just my brain, but to me, I don't know. For me, it's easier to follow this. This I could do in my sleep.
Right.
This is just, my brain just can. So, and that's like, you were talking about paint on wires. When I picked up my 67 Porsche, I didn't have a wiring diagram. This was like early 2000s. The internet didn't have all that available. Sure. And I happened to have what we call a fox and hound.
Yeah.
So I would take this in, grab onto a wire, and take this thing and until I found the right wire. And then I knew that was a turn signal wire. That was this wire. And then kind of labeled them myself. But this to me is godsend. I use this at work every day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, and I think you can find them on Amazon now for like $20 for what I call a fox and hound. I think it's a tone and trace is what they call it now. But
yeah,
remember, I'm old.
Yeah. It's tough when you wake up in the room and figure out you're the old guy all of a sudden, huh?
Yeah, it happens to me at work now. I'm used to be the young guy, but now I am that old guy I used to make fun of. Like, damn.
Yeah. I'm that guy now, too.
I was working with a whole room full of kids this morning that had no idea who Ted Nugent was. I'm like, where am I?
My, oh, my. Mr. Bill's here from St. Louis.
All right.
Hey.
So I was talking to Bill this week, and apparently he went on a cruise this weekend, and the fan blade hit his reservoir, and it took off a blade, and the blade hit the top of his hood.
Oh.
And dented the hood. Yeah. It was. I'd have a drink after I saw the pictures. It was.
Oh my God.
I think I'd throw up. So.
Yeah, that's worst nightmare right there.
Yeah, that's not cool. Not cool.
Let's see. Cam H says, I had a 87 Pathfinder burned the ground because of faulty fuel pump wire. So I'll probably be going painless to take care of a lot of the guesswork out when it comes time to eventually do it on his car. So, I mean, if the wiring is that bad and that chopped up, then yeah, yank it, and I'd rather splice it. But if it's that bad,
oh yeah.
So where do you draw the line versus replace versus repair? I mean, you 1 circuit, 2 circuit, 3 circuit. I mean, when do you figure out which way to go?
Yeah.
On these cars, it's so simple. It depends.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, and I would not, you keep the old harness around too, because there's always that connector, right? Mm-hmm. That you're looking for those plugs that go on the back of the headlights that have the boot around them, things like that. And you want to have that stuff around, and it, with the right pin removal and stuff, you can get that right out, put it on a new harness too. But now I hear you, Jonathan. It's like, when is the limit? And if you're doing a lot of electronics, a lot like an LS swap and all, the coded digital stuff, it just, I tend to get a little more methodical with that stuff. So that's why I went that route. But I just figured I'd be into way too much chasing, toning, and all that stuff. So why not?
Now the painless kit for the headlight plugs, does it come with the original style where it plugs right into the bulb, or do you have to adapt them?
No, it comes with a 3-prong plug, but it doesn't have the boot that kind of sucks up to the back of the plug.
Okay.
So it's like your generic 3-prong plug.
Right.
But I pulled the boot plugs out and just put the new terminals from the painless kit in those and snapped them right on. So
Lou, what are those terminal ends? They're kind of like a weird name, like 58 or something like that. Do you remember?
56 series. You got 56 series, and I think the other ones is like 53 or something like that. It depends. I know it's male and female, but they like 56 series, and I think 53 if I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
I can never remember
Yeah.
the number, but you can redo the ends of all these plugs for the most part. So
Right.
Yeah,
something worth sharing.
I have a toolbox that has these plastic trays that come out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's literally my electrical box. I could rebuild any original wiring harness with that. I had it for years, and I also told John when I go to the junkyard, I snip at the old cars.
Yep.
So I mean I have a box full of that stuff. For me, honestly, there ain't no limits because I could do it from scratch. I have fixed harnesses that look terrible, and this guy never had no issues.
Yep.
Let's think about something also. If you are dealing with numbers matching car and you're going all out,
Oh
you
yeah.
definitely want to keep it stock.
Yep.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because after you spend all that money and you plan to put it on a car, it's like a show car, let's say, you actually got guys there that push the cigarette lighter in and
Make sure it
time.
works.
Yeah, they will time how long it takes to come back out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. Oh yeah,
You
100%.
can like the concourse judging. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they do that, and they so I guess it all depends on what kind of car you building. Also, the big word, the budget.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If I could save money on an original wiring harness, it's because I have the experience of doing it for so many years. But I understand also the people that are newbies, they're going to be nervous because I was nervous when I first started. But if you could save that money, because those painless wiring harness, what are they? Over $600 easy?
I don't think I paid quite that much. It was I don't remember. I think it was 500-ish, but yeah. No,
Okay.
that's real money. That's
Yeah. I mean, if you could save that kind of money and put it towards another part, whatever else you need for your car, I mean, believe me, it makes a difference.
Yep. Well, I have something. Of course, something else to keep in mind. I like my original wiring harnesses and diagrams, but say you have rally gauges, there is no wiring diagram for that in the books or anywhere.
That's true.
And if you have some of the other options, again, you don't have all that available. So you still have to kind of stab in the dark if you have some of the rare options.
yeah. Yeah. One thing I will say about the painless too, when you use these Pro Series, it has it has 25 circuits, the particular one I bought. The difference is with that though, when you go to the bigger series with more circuits, you actually have to knock out around your fuse block hole. So where it comes through the firewall, you actually have to enlarge that hole a little bit. And they give you a little template to put up there and go around it and drill 2 new holes and everything for the fuse box. But it does not go through the standard hole. I believe a 69 does, however. The 69 fuse box is bigger, right?
I think it's about the same as 68 and 69. 67 is the oddball where it has like a bulkhead plug. It's different.
It's different. It's different.
That's what it was. Right.
Yeah.
I had to cut it because I had a 67.
Yeah, 68, 69 is more of a square shape, and 67 is like elongated, more of a rectangle,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jim and Kelly ask Louie, where do you buy your original color wiring for your harnesses? Is that a secret?
The website is oof.
Beautiful.
I forgot why or something. That's a good question.
We'll
I
put it
have
in the
it.
comments afterwards.
Yeah, I put in the comments, but I've been using these people for years. Even if you have a wire that have a trace, let's say it's a blue wire with a white trace, they actually sell them like that.
Yeah.
You just got to know the gauge of wire and how long is your wire. All that stuff counts.
So Howard says that he used American Auto Wire on his 67 Bird. He said it was a bit pricey, about $750.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah. They were in the running too. They were a good product. Yeah.
And then we also had a question from John Kilborn says, what about adding air conditioning? So I'm assuming the wiring to add for AC. Anyone want to touch on that one?
Well, the AC I used, which is your vintage air, that kind of comes with its own harness that you have to kind of integrate into the painless harness. But you also need to, you got relays and other things involved with that just to get it, for the fans and whatnot. I don't know how the factory harness handles AC. It must be a completely different harness, Louis.
AC. Well, though, there is a totally other harness for AC when it gets hooked up to the controller unit where the radio's at the heater controller. But it'll be right, John.
Yeah, I think because it uses the same, say, heater or AC fuse that runs over to the box. Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, I've never messed with a factory first gen car with air conditioning. So Brian's the one that's got a factory AC car. So
yeah, my '69 Firebird is an original AC car, and there's where it has like its own individual harness.
Mm-hmm. It uses like a power wire from the fuse block, but then it goes to the controller, and the controller sends out the compressor signal. And
the condenser and all that stuff is separate.
Let's see. Where did I see that one at? Raymond says, don't splice. And I Spider Garage, who's a local Arizona guy, he says, quote, can I use speaker wire with my LED halos on my headlights? Asking for a friend. Cough, cough. No.
Let her eat.
AC/DC sounds so much better through your headlights.
Yeah. Speaking of splices, I've been using these. I don't know how you guys feel about them.
But a little solder joint inside it.
I don't like them.
I love these things. So basically, you put the two wires in the opposing ends. You take a heat gun and just heat it up until that slug of solder melts in the middle. Mm-hmm. I've had fantastic luck with these, and as long as you keep your wires tight and no pieces sticking out, it seals them right up. It's got a heat activated glue in the end.
Yeah.
It's waterproof. I've had super good luck with these. I don't use the crimp ones. Again, more trouble from high school.
With the big gauge wires, I don't like those. For the smaller gauge wire, they work good.
Yeah. Yeah, even down to like your 20 gauge, they have them in white for 20 gauge, which is really small.
Tiny stuff.
Yeah. But, I had really good luck with those. For the bigger stuff, like battery, obviously you don't use it for very large stuff. But, I've had really good luck with those.
So John Seals says, what about gearhead wiring harness for a 68 Bird? They're about $200. Anybody have any experience with the gearhead?
No, I never even heard of it.
Yeah,
no, that's new to me. I'll take a look at it. If there's anything jumps out at me, I'll throw it in the comments later. But
now, my dad might be following along, but I remember him telling me that in the aviation world, you don't solder anything. It makes the wires brittle and it causes any kind of vibration. You cannot. No. It won't pass. It has to be. It's a special crimp, but it's actually a crimp style connector. So that's something. After I heard that, I stopped soldering wires a long time ago. Started different crimps or way to actually get it to go. So.
Speaking of crimpers, Tom63 Le Mans says that he's been using an S&G crimping tool, which you can buy from Summit, but they're not cheap, $165.
Yeah.
Yeah, good crimping tools, it makes a big difference, especially if you're using like the double crimp terminals that go around the insulation. And the conductor. Yeah. You can get them that do that all in one, or you can get them where you do them separately. I have both. Sometimes, depending on the terminal, the separate ones work better for me. Yes. And it depends on what you're using for connectors and all of that.
That's true.
So, I bought a kit that had a bunch of different jaws for the crimper and for, solderless terminals and heat shrink terminals. Like for normal crimp ends, I use this type of stuff. with the these are crimp terminals,
Mhm.
but they also have that that heat shrink end built in. So you basically crimp this on, then heat shrink it, and it seals it up. It has glue in it. It becomes waterproof. So
Yep.
you're off and running. The other thing I would absolutely recommend if anybody's doing anything with screw terminals. So if you're doing a terminal where you're putting a bare wire into a thing and then tightening it down, use a ferrule. You should absolutely use a ferrule. And your dad would probably support this too, but they're just a crimp-on octagon ferrule fitting that goes over the end of the terminal. Because if you have a screw terminal on a bare wire and you tighten it down, eventually that wire will start to flatten out and move, and that wire will come out. So I've got those around here somewhere. I'll grab them, but they're just little tiny ferrules with a plastic end over the wire, over the insulation. And anywhere you're using a screw terminal, I would highly recommend you use those.
Mhm.
Like UL and CE on machinery and equipment, they're required now.
Yep. Yep. And the problem with using the wrong size die in your crimp, you'll actually crush enough of the strands that they'll actually break loose. You'll actually cut the wire inside the crimp. So all those different size dies are important. A lot of the equipment that I work on, they've used the wrong crimper. The wire stripped back right, everything's great, but the wire will pull right out of the crimp because it's been severed. So that's how a 5-pound pull test or whatever it is on a wire. When you're done with it, you got to give a little bit of a tug test, make sure it stays.
Right.
Yeah. That's really important, is the right crimper, even with stuff like this, like the bigger battery terminals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll have the hex crimpers. You get right a hold of that and draw it in from all sides and compress it.
Yep.
I don't necessarily like the ones that have like the one pin that you hit with a hammer.
Yep.
Those tend to spread the wire out too, but don't solder these. Just like Jonathan said, if you solder on these, you'll eventually just make the wire hard, because it'll start to wick down that wire, and it just is going to cause you trouble. So these are actually made to be done dry. And with, don't be afraid to get the right tool to crimp this stuff. It makes a big difference.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So it looks like Maval, M-A-V-A, says there's a question. He's got a 53 Bel Air. That's all he said. So let us know what you're thinking or what you need a question answered, Maval or M-A-V-A, and we'll answer it as best we can for you. Eric says, so residential wire nuts are frowned upon? Just kidding.
You see it a lot.
Yes.
So.
If you're going to use wire nuts, you have to use the irrigation ones that have the goo in them.
Yeah. I found a few on that car when I took it apart, so we laughed, but it happens.
It does happen. People don't know.
Yep.
They have them in their house. Why can't they use them on their car?
Right. Right.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Do we miss somebody?
That's awesome. Oh boy. Yeah. The other go ahead.
I said John Kilborn says, is it possible to get aftermarket ends for factory wiring harnesses?
100%.
100%, Louis?
Yeah.
And Keep It Simple Garage says to tell Louis hello.
Hey, that's my boy Al. Yeah, that's Al. I Keep It Simple Garage. He's a Camaro guy, huge Camaro guy.
So Mava there was talking about the separate grounds for the taillight sockets. We kind of touched on that last week, and Jonathan had a great point. Anytime you don't have that, I would do it anyway. A lot of these older rigs are grounded through the taillight housings. The grounds are crappy. It's just a pain. So I replaced the sockets for the taillights in this one with the ones that had the third pigtail. So that has the ground, the brake, and the power. And the running light. Then you'll never have a problem.
So Buff says, if I do the revive and drive or proof of concept build, I use wire nuts for that. But long term, I run all new wire. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
if you're just mocking it up and just testing, sure, why not?
Yeah.
It's like you're like putting duct tape on a cracked frame. I get it. It's fine. So.
If you guys don't know, Buff has a really cool channel. I think he's back in Oklahoma. Is that right, Buff? Oklahoma, somewhere back there? And let's see. I'm just trying to MAVA. I still don't understand the question. Am I missing it?
Yeah.
Buff says that duct tape was structural.
Yeah.
I get his humor.
Yeah.
That's why I like watching his videos.
What do you guys think about one thing that I ran into is when I put the stock taillight bulbs in, it wasn't really all that bright. I actually went back and ended up putting LED bulbs in the taillights.
Mm-hmm.
And way, way brighter and a lot less heat.
Yeah.
But you do have trouble with flashers. You have to go to an LED flasher that has an independent ground on it.
Correct.
Electronic flasher. Yep.
Yeah, they have some electronic flashers without the ground wire. I tried a couple of them. None of them worked. Just ended up going with the painless one with the ground wire.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the LEDs are definitely brighter, but you either run a resistor or electronic flasher. So I haven't done it yet, but I read about it. So, and the other problem with some of the LED stuff is they're polarity sensitive, and some people miss that.
Yeah.
You get little 194 bulbs, you stab it in there, and it doesn't work. You got to realize that you have to turn the bulb around. They're not really well labeled either.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
So Ma Vol finally found the question. He says, I'm about to install a Speedway vintage cloth harness. I noticed the harness doesn't have ground wires. When hooking up taillights, do I hook up the ground from the taillight to the car somewhere? And I believe, Jonathan, you had a video where you made an additional ground on the taillights, correct?
Well, it was for the GTO that I had. I did that a long time ago, but some of that older 53 stuff, it uses a positive ground, but you still have to, you would say, hook it to the ground somehow, but it may not, don't know on 53 off the top of my head. There's a good chance it grounds through the housing, and that's the biggest problem. Older cars, they don't run a separate wire. So in this case, as long as it would handle it, I would probably run a separate wire if you want to make sure it works.
I have made a lot of jumper grounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just to
Ground
make sure.
is everything.
Mhm.
Ground the frame, ground the body, ground the chassis.
You know, it's
ground
funny
the
because
engine.
with these old cars, when something don't work, it's usually a ground. 100%. 100% is a ground. When you chase that ground, bam, it starts working.
Almost every time. That's kind of a fun way to test it. But when you start taking your voltmeter and you bounce across the light bulb, and then you're on the ground side of the circuit and still reach 12.6 volts.
Yeah.
Well, you got no ground. So
There
it
you
doesn't
go.
make sense, but that's what's happening.
So I think we answered that question for him. What's next on our list for wiring, gentlemen?
Yeah, grounds. Grounds are important, not only on the taillights and headlights, but, the battery back to the body, the battery back to the frame, battery to the motor. You think about it, even your front frame section it could be potentially isolated a little bit. I mean, you're running it through rubber body mounts.
Mm-hmm.
So, ground the hell out of everything, and you'll never be sorry.
Right. Make sure you got clean metal.
Yep. Clean metal
Battery
with star
goes to the
washers.
frame.
Star washers is great.
Firewall,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or you'll end up welding your shifter cable because that's what's grounding the whole engine to the body of the vehicle.
Right.
Not that I would
Right.
know. I'm just saying.
You heard that from a friend.
Yeah, a friend of mine.
friend told me, cough.
Yeah. Dang it. You go start it up and the shifter cable starts to glow. Like, what the heck?
I run a little four terminal block, and then I run a ground wire from my battery to that terminal block. It's like I think it's made for like these big power stereo things you put in the trunk. Anyway, you ground that, and then I run a regular battery size cable to the motor, to the chassis, to the everything from
So
there.
it's like a junction block, but for ground. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But big, for 1/0 gauge,
Yo, big show. Yeah. Now, that's something. But so back in school, when they learned us on electrical stuff, they taught us that all electronics are made of smoke, and when the smoke
Right.
comes out of them, they stop working. So the goal
That's a
is
very
not to
real
let the
thing.
smoke out, right? So,
Have smoke, we'll whatever. Yeah.
yeah. But even like newer cars, if you start talking about ECM and how sensitive sensors are to grounds,
Right.
You start changing out to something in a modern engine, the grounds are going to kick your butt every time. So
Yeah. I feel well grounded.
Yeah, Bob feels well grounded.
all these comedians out here.
No. Yeah.
Has any? Yeah,
Okay.
we were talking about the 53, and I'm pretty sure back in 53 it was 6-volt, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 volt.
Say 6-volt, and
and positive ground.
a lot of people convert those up to 12. A lot of that was dicey how it was done. Some guys will run 8-volt batteries in those and have much better luck.
Yeah.
But 8-volt batteries are a little hard to come by. So
Yeah, and I believe those older cars was like mostly circuit breakers, not fuse. Actually like fuse. They had circuit breakers on them.
some of them had fused links where they had little tiny section of wire between two fat sections. And if that turned into liquish, you have a problem.
Yep.
Didn't they have candles in there? You had to light the candle in the headlights.
Burn the magnesium.
Great.
Like a miner's helmet.
So, Louis, you sent me that 67 shifter, and I got that 67 console, but I don't have a wiring harness for the console. Is that easy enough to mock up?
It is easy to mock up, but of course you want to kind of mock it up with an original one because the length of the wire is important.
Okay.
And in that 67 console for Firebird, it has a courtesy light at the back.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that wire has juice, is hot all the time. As long as that battery is plugged, that wire is hot. And it's orange. It's an orange wire. Usually these old cars, Firebird, orange is hot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you got to know the length. I will have to take apart my 67 for you to mock it up. But yeah, it's really not. I can measure it for you. Yeah. But
7 inches.
Yeah, 67 has that courtesy light. When you open your door, the courtesy light on the back turns on. That's where it has the cigarette ashtray.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jim and Kelly have a really good question here. What's your thoughts on using electrical joint compound for anti-corrosion on grounds? So what dielectric grease?
Yeah.
So that's you should use that anywhere you can. And basically, even the painless harness where you plug the front and the back into the fuse box, so the harness bolts into the back of the fuse box through the firewall, they give you dielectric grease to put in there. Yep, I have tubes of that everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere you have a connection that's not potentially well sealed, use dielectric grease. I can't recommend it enough.
John, the original Birds had a lot of grease there on the bulkhead connector.
Oh, yeah, that's a mess.
Woo!
Messy stuff.
Very messy. A lot. They used to put a lot.
But if you don't, you'll get corrosion, and then that'll be your electrical problem right there. It'll get hot, and that's why.
And then the smoke comes out, and it's done. So.
And you let the damn smoke out again.
Yeah.
Keep that smoke contained.
With electronics, the smoke is usually preceded by a loud snap.
Yep.
I want to put out there for you guys that have the original wiring harness, and you know what I'm talking about. Usually when you drive and you get like a bump on a road or something like that, your tail light socket will come off because it doesn't have that spring action no more like original. Well, you still have to buy the whole painless wiring tail light section. Not anymore. They actually selling them separate now.
The bulb sockets.
So if you want to buy, the bulb socket and the wires to burn it in, to put it to your original wiring harness, whatever you're gonna crimp it, solder. I like soldering, but you could do it and it will last you maybe your lifetime because it's good stuff. I mean, they make
Call me
painless,
old.
make good stuff, you know.
Yeah. So Cam H says, I've heard not to put the dielectric grease, I'm assuming, on the connector itself, but where it plugs in. That's not necessarily true. You put the dielectric grease right on the terminal, and it just keeps it protected.
Yeah. The service manual for the equipment we use actually shows how to put dielectric grease on. You'll actually cover all the pockets, all the pins, and everything. It's a thin layer of it, so it's actually on the electrical connectors and the whole thing basically. Now
It
there
just
are
keeps
some
the water
manufacturers
out.
like Deutz, the diesel engines we work with. It says do not use dielectric grease on their ECM plugs or their wiring harnesses. So Deutz does not want you to use any of it on their stuff. So,
Really?
Oh yeah. So it's. And I've had where it works both ways. The dielectric grease holds water in the plug just as much as it holds it out once you get it in there. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So
Those crazy Germans.
I know
Achtung! 9999. All right, German means coming out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so Louis, one more question for me. Is there a plug-in for that center console harness?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't find it underneath the dash of my car.
But it's all painted red, remember?
It's what?
It's all
It's all
painted
painted
red.
red.
It's camouflage.
I've seen that dash. It's all red.
It's all red.
The wire nuts, everything. It's all red.
He masked it off correctly.
Yeah.
The car was an original console car, Brian.
Yeah. It had the holes in the floor pan, so.
Yeah, it should have that plug. If it don't, what you gotta do is wire that wire. I'm saying that is for the console. You have to wire into your courtesy light under the dashboard.
Okay.
They're the same circuit. It's the same thing.
All right. I'll tie it in there.
Yeah, and it's
When I
safe
get
with the
there, because
fuels.
I'm still,
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got a new toy.
Uh-oh.
That's disturbing.
Nah.
Is it like Jonathan's new spot weld buster?
It says right on there.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Yeah.
needed a long one. I'm not used to such long things in my hand.
Sweet.
Do that use a sticky back paper, Brian? Oh, that's mucho money, man.
There you go.
They can do both. They can do the stick-on or the hook and loop.
I like the sticky because it's cheaper.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Is it cheaper
Oh yeah. Woo.
than the hook and loop?
Oh yeah. The hook and loop
Really?
hooks you all right.
It's like $20 a roll.
Took all the money out of your pocket.
Oh yeah, it hooks you all right.
Once you've been to one strip club, it's just this.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's a story for another day, gentlemen. Let's see, what do we got here? Lisa says, I believe I have located you a harness. Are you for a 67, Lisa, or for a 76?
Same difference.
It's just the numbers are switched, right?
Also for the guys using the original headlights on the Birds, right? So Camaro will be the same thing. They getting expensive, the glass. Like woo.
Yep, they are.
It's nuts.
The glass for the headlights?
Oh yeah,
The headlight bulbs.
the bulbs.
Those small size dual beam bulbs there. The high low, the separate. Those are not cheap anymore.
They're not cheap no more.
Dime a dozen. Now they're like, oh my god.
Great. I got to buy some for that car. So there goes more of my inheritance.
I still have these ones.
Yeah.
That's the ones I use. Yeah.
Don't lose them.
Let's say T3 on it.
Don't drop it?
Don't drop it, Brian.
Smash.
Don't drop it. Don't drop it. What other weird things did we run into? the back of the ignition switch, that has a fairly unique connector housing too. So if you have an original harness, don't lose that.
Oh, the 67, 68?
Yeah, that it kind of clips around the body of the plug. That was a little strange. And also, on the one thing you do run into with these aftermarket kits is the steering column connector. They give you a bunch of different options for that. They'll give you the curved connector if that's what you have on your steering column. But if you have an aftermarket one with a flat one, in most cases, they give you the male and the female, so you can rewire that. Plus, they give you a really nice diagram of what the color codes are from the OEM steering columns. I actually had a problem with my aftermarket column trying to use the connector that came in the painless kit. It kind of, when I went to put it together, it kind of bent, and I wasn't making contact through a few of those pins. So I ended up having to buy the mating connector from Flaming River, where I got my steering column. So, the steering column, one thing that I guess I never really paid that much attention to is your directionals, your flashers,
your horn,
your horn, your brake lights, your
hazard,
your steering column. And if that connector isn't right, you got nothing. So the brake light is the one that surprised me. But when you stop and figure out how it actually works, where sharing the brake lights with the turn signals, it makes sense. So that had me scratching my head for a few minutes when it wasn't working, and then I traced it back to that connector. Was it mating exactly right?
Mike, I got a question for you. Does your horn work on the 67?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I got the dualies, baby.
Nice. What kind of horn relay do you use?
I just used the one that came on the painless harness. It's built right into the fuse box.
Okay. All right.
It's just a regular relay. It's not, it's nothing special.
Okay.
But it does work.
Well, let's see. Who's trivia for tonight? Who's doing that?
Oh, you guys got to come up with something now.
Okay, all right,
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Don't do AI stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
AI will help us.
I don't go to Google for my trivia, Brian.
Okay, got one more question. Going to install a Dakota LED.
I got one. You guys want one? I got one. I got one from the top of my head.
A trivia question?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Which year bird can you tell it was an early model? So early year production out of the three, which one with something that is on the trunk and it comes out of the trunk?
Junk in the trunk.
So there is, I can't say there's something because then they're going to know. But there's something that there's a tube that comes. That's the only thing I'm going to say. There's a tube that comes outside the trunk. It's for a system, and it's out of 67, 68, or 69. If you had that on the car, it was an early production car.
Yeah, it was axed out midway through the year, and you could not get the replacement parts for it. They voided it out. So.
I happen to have one original, and it's still on the car too.
Yep. I know. I got a few of those cars actually, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, if you guys could figure that out, it would be amazing.
Yeah, because if you went back to the dealership to get these parts replaced, they would say no longer available. This is the updated version.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So I found another trivia question that I like.
Uh-oh.
You ready for this? What is the rarest Pontiac ever produced?
Aztec.
Aztec.
I actually had one. My dad had one of those. Oh, what a piece of crap.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the answer.
Rarest.
It's a 1954 Pontiac Bonneville special concept. Only 2 exist, and they were never sold to the public.
Wow.
I think they had like a bubble top or something on, like glass top. Was it?
I was going to go with Banshee again.
I was thinking about that.
Well, Banshee, there's only 2 of those made. So, I mean, how do you define
There you
that?
go. It's a tie for the rarest.
But I guess
Okay.
they're saying since it was never sold to the public, that was the extra level of rarity. But that means they aren't really a real car.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this was concept too. So
Here's one that was not a concept, that was actually on dealers' lots. The second rarest Pontiac was a 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge convertible with Ram Air 4 engine.
Yeah.
Only 5 were made.
wow,
Yeah.
that's worth some money if you have one of those.
Oh, yeah.
So Mava had one more question. It says going to install Dakota Digital LED cluster. I have 1 oil sensor wire that's going into the cluster brain. Will I have to tap a wire out to hook up to oil sensor? Dakota Digital has a number of sensors. I would buy the separate sensor and run that one separately, is how I would do that. Dakota Digital has some, affordable little sensor packages. We have them for oil pressure, fuel pressure, water temperature, all that. And I would just grab one of those up and not risk it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have multiple sensors. You got 1 wire, 2 wire, 3 wire, depending on the setup, and then you don't have the right output. So I would definitely get the sensor that matches your whatever cluster you're using. Because even then, if it's a single wire sensor, it may not be the right resistance range to actually operate it properly. So,
right.
In this case, they probably would sell you one, of course, additional money. But it's probably, like you said, go that way is your best bet. So.
Yeah.
So a question for everyone. How are the commercials tonight?
I've already had 2 or 3. So
Really?
yeah.
I haven't seen any.
I found a spot in the settings for lives to reduce the number of commercials. But maybe I tried. I tried, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard said those Bonnevilles had a plexiglass roof. I thought I'd seen some pictures of those before. So
Raymond says he had one, had 2. Oh, okay, for commercials, yeah.
Okay. No, he had one of those 69 GTO Ram Air 4 is what he said he had, right? So,
I want one of those.
heck yeah.
All right, so it looks like the ads are still rolling in. So I'll keep tweaking, see what I can do to stop that, guys.
Yeah. Gus has joined the premium YouTube club. Thank you. I love it. I hate listening to 30-minute commercials about mushy dog poop.
Mike, if you go premium on YouTube, no commercials?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to the premium and it's like, I think it's like $11 a month or something. But I just, I let you guys run in the garage all day long while I'm working in here, right? And it's like every once in a while they'll get on one of these marathon commercials that last like 30 minutes. And I'm
40-minute commercial. Yep.
Yeah. And it happens over and over and over again, the same damn commercial. It's crazy.
Well, here's funny. So last week there was a ton of commercials, and I was looking at our analytics. We made less money last week with all the commercials than we did before.
With $1 versus $2.
How does that? It's like $1.25 is what we made last week, and I was like, everyone's bitching about commercials. I should have had $20,000 or some stuff.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Someone's getting rich. Ain't me. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric says he has premium, no commercials. He says totally worth it.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
After
I did it, I was like, why did I wait so long to do this?
I may have to look into that. I've never.
Louis, think they need some hints because I have not seen any answers at all. Someone said
Oh,
lug
no,
wrench,
they
but
don't
not
need no
quite.
hints. There's no hints.
One person said something about a lug wrench
Yep.
tube.
That's
That was
all I
it.
got.
A
Yeah.
lug wrench tube?
A sleeve for the lug wrench.
No.
You're just looking for the year, right? So they can start guessing the years, and someone's going to get it right. Or do you want the what they're talking about, the option? Or
No,
the
they
year?
gotta talk about the whole thing, which year and what is the tube and what's the function for it and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
So Bill wants to know, did you come up with a shirt design in your free time? So I did finally kind of get the Fabulous 5 or Fantastic 5.
Oh, you did?
I got it done. I'm waiting for my sample shirt to come in, and I'll show everyone.
Hey, Louis, a fellow named Raymond said something here. He's pretty much got it. So
All right.
he didn't
You
get
want
the year, but
No, he needs a year. He needs the whole answer.
see, I've already given it away, so that's half the answer. So
And a jack handle lug wrench combo tool mounted under the rear lid, held in place by spring clips.
nice. I don't have that option.
Is it a can of air can in the spare?
No.
Well, there's some that had inflatable spares. They had the mini spares in them back in the
Yes, they did. Yes.
Huh. Louis, you got a good one this week.
I always got good ones. What do you mean a good one this week?
Nice.
Oh, Raymond says he needs his part book.
Well, Raymond, you just got to guess the year.
Peter.
Yeah, he's got the answer. He's just got to guess the year. That's all.
Well, I want to talk about that when we're done with this one because I have a question about that for the experts.
Uh-oh.
Who's the expert here?
Have you been blowing the gas cap off your car? Is that what's happening?
Well, no. It's funny you mentioned that. I actually have a vented tank. I have a separate vent, but I also noticed that a lot of when you look at the replacement caps, you'll see printed in the cap vented or not vented.
Correct.
So were they originally all vented?
Oh, we can wait for the answer to come.
Okay.
Burn your lips. John. Mr. Kilborn.
Yeah.
You guys have questions for us on wiring?
Well, I'm thinking
Anyone?
about doing some videos on the electrical digitals because, there's a lot of things that haunt people when it comes to these cars, but most of the time I won't give you the cheap textbook answer. It's typically a ground problem. But
Yes.
there's some things you want to get into maybe in diagnosing and trying to figure it out, like why my right turn signal doesn't work on the rear versus the front comes on, stays on solid. Mike had a little experience of that, but that goes into the turn signal switch. But I may have to do a little bit of messing around with that. Or even like the wiper motor. Your switch in the dash isn't a power supply, it's a ground supply. So
Yep.
So you start checking, I got voltage on it and it's not working. Well, it's not actually a voltage supply, it's actually searching for ground. It's back to that ground thing again.
I got a question for you guys. If anybody would know, so for rally gauges, right? 67 or 68 rally gauges. John was right. There's no wiring diagram for them. I happen to have a wiring diagram for the back of the gauges on the rally gauges. I think I shared one with Jonathan.
Yeah.
Now for the whole thing, it's kind of generic, but when it goes to the bowhead connector and blah, 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 I happen to have an original rally gauge setup. The whole wiring for it completely is in a box put away in my shed because I'm doing work on the bird cage, but she's going to go back to the bird cage once I'm done. How can we work? Maybe Mike will know or Brian. How can we print out a legit looking rally gauge on schematics, wiring schematics like Brian had in the beginning of the video? How can we do that?
AI.
That's easy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can draw me a picture, just hand draw it, and I'll turn it into this.
All right, because it is important. A lot of people don't have it, and
Yeah.
it's good.
That'd be a
Like
good
me.
add-on.
I have a 67 rally gauge that I have not put in yet because I haven't had time to research all the pins.
My 67 is the original rally gauge. I never had everything, just works.
No, Raymond gets the right year and the right thing. So
Okay.
Raymond, you're the big wiener.
All right, let's read it.
Let's talk about this.
Read it.
Who's reading?
Well,
I can't see it.
Raymond
What?
said
Okay.
it was a gas tank vent for a 69.
It was a vent tube. Only 1969 Firebird early production cars had it.
Yep.
And there goes the question that Mike had of the vent system. So the vent cap that came out a little later, and your 67, like my 67, anybody else original 67. Usually in a hot day when you're gonna open that sucker, you hear it.
Yeah. Right.
And it was because of that. Then later on, they thought about the system. Bingo, let's put a tube.
Mm-hmm.
On Firebird, honestly, in 67, I don't know why Pontiac didn't do it for 67 Firebird, because they was out there. I worked on a 67 GTO, and it has the vent tube system, like a 69 Firebird.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, 67 Firebird, or 68, they just did not put it.
Yeah. Now, Gus asked a pretty good question. Does each taillight get its own ground, or do you have them use the same ground?
So the painless harness for the taillight grounds routed all the light sockets back to one terminal that you would screw into the body in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one ground all tied together, but it was very well done.
Yeah, because that's the easy way. You only have to worry about one ground to investigate. If all the bulbs stop working, that's your common link. But you could run individual grounds to each bulb if you wanted to. But a cleaner look would be daisy chain them all together to one eyelet. You have one place to manage. But the light would work either way. Individual grounds are all linked together. It would still work the same. So. Cool. All right, that was a good one. All right, what else? We guessed everything because I had all of my 69 Firebirds are early production cars. My Trans Am still had the vented tank. The Mockingbird that I made look like the Trans Am still had the vented tank. My high school car, vented tank. The 400 Bird that I bought that I put back together, vented tank. So all mine has that little on the fuel tanks. What I was talking about, you can't buy the vented fuel tank anymore. There's a little bar right off the filler neck to put this system onto. This goofy tube goes out of the car into the trunk, then back out of the car behind the bumpers where it vents out at. It's the goofiest thing ever.
Oh, I was going to ask you where it actually comes out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to wonder.
There's an extra hole behind the tail panel, which the bumper covers it up.
Yep.
So
okay.
When you put your new tail panel on, if you're going to try to reinstall that system, well, then you got to put extra holes in the trunk floor and the tail panel.
The tail panel, yep.
So it doesn't go to the tank; it goes to the filler neck.
Do the filler neck right by the cap on the right-hand side or the passenger side, little barb. Yep.
Yeah, it has like a U shape going down.
Yep.
I'll get it tomorrow and look.
Yeah, brand new tanks. I've taken and soldered the little barbers back on to redo it, but it was kind of silly. I was just trying to keep it looking original, but not. I don't think I would try to solder a tank that's got gasoline in it. For some reason, I don't think I want
Bad
to do
idea.
I don't see a
Bad
problem.
idea.
What's the problem with that?
Well,
it'd be a Tom and Jerry cartoon after that.
Yeah.
what you're saying is make sure the camera is rolling when I
Where'd
attempt
Brian go? Where'd Brian go?
Acme Gas Tank Company.
Raymond wants to know where the Firebird people are at. Thanks for answering these questions.
I used a Tank Sync fuel injection tank with the pump built in, and it had a separate vent. And I ran it up as high as I could underneath the body in the back with a small filter on it. But I'm still concerned it's not high enough. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I was also thinking I would just get a vented cap and not worry about it.
Well, in a day, yeah.
put a vented cap on mine. It seems to work okay. So, but
Yeah,
I
I
bought
was
the
gonna
fuel
ask.
tank with the fuel pump in the tank, and it's all plumbed and had a return line and everything. So it looks just like the factory tank and
Right.
everything. So
Yeah.
So since we're talking about where are the Firebird people, let's do a roll call. Tell us where you're from and what you're driving or what you're working on. That'd be kind of interesting to see what you guys are doing and where you're at.
I'm right here.
I'm not lost. I'm right here.
Yeah, it's not
I
me.
know where I am.
Yeah,
I know where I'm at.
I've always been right here. I got 3 Firebirds: 1969, 68, and 69, all on the south side of Indianapolis. So, yeah.
I'm in the armpit of America where it was 100 degrees today in Arizona.
Wah.
How do you?
I got the cooler going, blowing on me just to be able to be in the garage.
Yeah. How do you get any kind of Bondo to work? I'm surprised you don't mix it up before you even smear it. It sets off.
Yeah, you don't even have any hardener. You just got to put it on. It just works.
Dang it! I got another daggum commercial. Bloop.
So we got Georgia, Rhode Island, Detroit, Metro Detroit.
Why, Gus, are you moving to California? Why? Wisconsin, North Carolina, Las Vegas.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Your
We knew
dad
that from your,
James-
we knew
dad
that from your
John is
accent, Jim.
buying parts.
Yeah.
Jim definitely has a Wisconsin accent. 67. Oh, there we go. Look at that. 67 overhead cam sprint.
Nice.
Where's that? Who's that? Oh, yeah,
Richard Doobie.
in Canada.
Candanandia.
So my only Canadian story is I went to Toronto like 10, 15 years ago. And I walked out of a deli or a bakery, and it was a guy on the street with a cup asking for whatever. And I put a US dollar in his cup. And it says, thanks for the 96 cents.
Yeah. 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 It's like it's $1.50 now. So
Is it $1.50 now?
yeah. Close. I don't know. Gas in California is $6. I would move to California except for all the parts I buy for my car. There's stickers on it that say they'll kill me in California.
Yeah, you get cancer there. So
yeah, if I have the cancer in California, I don't need it. No thanks.
So speaking of gas, Jonathan, rumor has it that Indiana has the highest gas prices.
No. I don't even check. I just buy it. So
I was told that for Firebird Fest, when I get to St. Louis, gas up before I cross over. Is that ludicrous, or is it just?
I don't think it's. I don't think that's true. If it's $6 in California, it's only.
Yeah.
I think $2.80, $2.90, $3 a gallon. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, it's just below $3 here.
Yeah,
it's $4 here in Arizona.
Really?
307 here.
Cheap stuff. That's because we're so close to California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All those Calis are coming over here in California and my Arizona.
307.
Coming. Yep. So it looks like we got people from coast to coast again. That's kind of cool. So.
That is
nice.
Cool. $2.78 at Sam's Club. I tried to buy gas at Sam's Club one day. I couldn't figure it out. I just went in the store. To hell with it.
I learned something a couple of weeks ago. Costco, their gas is rated for premium, is rated like #1 in quality. Costco.
Really?
Premium. Yeah.
Really?
It's
Okay.
top tier. It's supposed to be like Exxon, Chevron, and they're like, boop. How? I don't know, but that's the report I saw.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little hard on the wallet. Blueprint says they want 91 octane minimum.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, out here, the best you can get is 91.
Really?
You can't get anything higher than 91.
We have 94.
Sunoco has 94 around here. But only at Sunoco. And we have one station around here that has non-oxygenated gas at 93, which is
Mhm.
nice.
Nice. That's nice. Yeah.
That's where you have to put in all the boats and everything. So
Yeah.
it
Just go
doesn't
by
turn
the
to
airport,
algae.
pick up a couple gallons of fuel.
Hey, that's what we used to do with the race cars way back
Yep.
in the day before there was race fuel. You just go buy a barrel of avgas every few
Yep.
weeks.
Yep. And you didn't have to have a pilot's license. You just could roll up and pay it and go.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I think you have to have a license or some kind of aviation certificate or.
Oh, Sunoco 110. Ooh.
Well, I can buy that around
110?
here, but you can't put it directly into the car. They got barricades up around the pump. You got to put it into a can, and then what you do is that after that, that's your business. So
Really?
you can't pump it directly into the car though.
Huh.
Of course, I'm real close to Raceway Park. That's where they do all the drag racing and the nationals. So
Right.
it has something to do with it. So
Yeah, we had Sunoco race fuels and that stuff around too, but it was a little harder to come by.
yep. But I guess we kind of burned up our stuff in the wiring. I think at this point, but we're also getting close to an hour. But we were talking about all this fuel stuff. Just for curiosity, how many people put lead additive into their daggum cars to keep them going? Because Pontiac has some weird stuff they did to the cylinder heads, but I've trashed cylinder heads, and people tell me you don't have to worry about it. I'll tell you, no, that's not true because you'll destroy some cylinder heads. But how many people are running lead substitute in their tanks?
I hope that guy with the overhead cam Sprint is, because that motor would be really hard to replace.
Yep.
But so back in the day, they didn't have hardened seats, and without lead, you needed unleaded fuel, you needed hardened valve seats.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll raise hell.
Is there a cutoff date when that happened?
Nope, not for Pontiac. That's the thing that's going to blow your mind. Ready? You going to sit down for this? Nope. Pontiac never did hardened seats. They did flame hardened treatment to the cylinder head when they were made. The problem with that flame hardened treatment is it doesn't last. If you have a couple valve jobs done, that thickness or the millage of that hardness is gone.
Right.
So I kind of shy away from doing valve jobs on these heads because of that reason. Even then, if you do mill through that hardness, this lead substitute you get isn't very good. I don't trust. I trashed a set of Ram Air 3 heads in my old GTO clone. I even put lead substitute in it, and I killed the valve seats in that car. But so at the point now, I guess you call it the hillbilly leak down test. Put it in the solvent tank, fill the combustion chamber with fluid, and see how fast it leaks past the valves. If it's not leaking bad, pull them out, lap them just a little bit, and put them back in. So call me crazy, but maybe this will stir the pot. But that may be a topic for another time. But kind of curious who else has had problems with that stuff. So.
Well, I know I run 91 octane in my 67.
Mm-hmm. So, but no lead substitute?
Say again?
No lead additive or anything like that? Nothing?
No. Maybe I should start.
Now, but yours has the 1977 engine in it?
Yep.
Technically, it's still not hardened seats, but I think they did something different with them. I could never get someone to give me a conclusive year saying for sure you don't have to worry about it. But by then, there wasn't leaded fuel any longer. So 1977. So there had to be some kind of change, but I can't get anyone to tell me that. So.
Yeah, I was always with the Chevy heads. It was the single pick heads were non-hardened, and from the 50s and 60s, mid 70s, they started using hardened valve seats. But that was the small block Chevy heads. I don't know what Pontiac did, but
I did some. I guess you say knocking on some doors, but no one could give me a definite answer when Pontiac ever said "quote unquote" hardened seats. So they're just saying only flame hardened. I guess when they created the heads. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So they annealed them when it was already grounded in the seat. That's crazy.
Yeah. I've killed a set of heads. So as long as it's been ran that way for years, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Nah, lies. It's all lies. So
lies.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the age-old debate of the umbrella valve seals that just use the O-rings that came from the factory.
Yeah.
I've always been an O-ring guy, especially with the race cars. I've locked up so many damn valves and blown motors over it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, the umbrella seals were out the door. I don't care if it puffs blue when I start it. It'll go.
Hmm.
So Richard has a question. What do you do about the ethanol in the fuel shell? It's supposed to be an ethanol free and the 92 gold. I don't have 92 gold here, so you guys answer.
Yeesh.
These oxygenated fuels are dangerous, man. I burned up a snowmobile. I literally had the aluminum housing around the muffler catch fire and melt because it had over the winter, the carburetor bowl grew algae in the bowl on one side and leaned it right out. So if you have any motor that's going to sit for any amount of time, don't use oxygenated fuel. It worst case, use stable or something like that, but oxygenated fuel is really bad for anything that has to sit. Like a boat or a lawnmower that sits all winter or whatever. Just, yeah.
Wow.
And we live in an area where there's a lot of boating and a lot of, this is kind of a vacation-y area. So there's a few stations around here that sell the non-oxygenated fuels. And like I said, they're like 93 octane, which is nice too. But that stuff is, it's not good. It's water built right into the fuel. That's basically what it is.
Dumb. Dumb.
Yep.
So
that was back in the Clinton administration.
What is the gauge of wire that are used on our cars?
All gauges.
They're not just the one gauge. They're different?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got
14, 16.
14, 16, 18.
Yeah.
Okay. So it all depends on what circuit you're working on.
Yeah, the heavier stuff is like 12 for the ignition circuits and things like that.
You even got 10, the red one that feeds the
alternator.
Yeah. And also that brings the electricity into the cockpit on a 67, 68, 69. Yeah, they 10, they big boys.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you don't respect those wires, you will have a Firebird on your hands.
Yeah, you will.
Firebird.
Yeah.
Firebird.
I guess that's another good point too. You got to respect that stuff.
You do.
When you're passing through a firewall, use a grommet or some sort of clamp of some sort. Don't wrap a few loops of black tape around it and call it good.
No.
Do your diligence there because it will get real in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Bad things will happen.
Yeah. Actually, that's kind of funny we bring that up, though. I actually this week just bought one of these. I was thinking about it the other day. Call me paranoid, but I like to have a fire extinguisher in the car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
And they have these new ones they look like a big flare, like a big road flare.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show it to you next week. But they're a chemical reaction, and you pop the top, and it starts to smoke like a flare. And I saw a bunch of demonstrations on it on YouTube, and the nice thing about it is it's just smoke. It will put out a fire really quick, but it doesn't make a huge mess from the chemical. So I'll show it. I'll bring it in next week. It's in a box down at the house. So
do a demonstration. That'd be great.
Yeah. No, thanks. They're like $100. No. I'll risk
for the people, Mike. For the people.
Yes.
I'll put a link in the bottom for the YouTube demonstrations.
Okay, great.
Ay.
So what's the project for the weekend, guys? What's the projects for the weekend?
Well, I want to put a floor on the daggum bird. I got it test fitted, so convertible bracing is welded on, and I'll get it put into place. Hopefully, maybe cut out the rear frame rails. I'll be moving right along here. So.
Brian's doing sand blocks aerobics.
Bend over and grab your ankles.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Yeah.
What movie's that from?
Animal House.
That's right.
Another thing, none of the kids I was working, all those kids I was working with had never seen Blues Brothers, had never seen Animal House. I'm like, where are you guys? Where are you from?
I never seen Animal House. I seen Blue Brothers,
on,
bro.
You gotta check it out.
Animal House party, Louie. Come on.
When each of my nephews went to college, I gave them a DVD of Animal House.
Nice.
Not the
Smart.
nieces. This weekend, I'm starting to work on the ram air system for the LS.
Ooh.
Oh.
This will be interesting.
Any pictures of the design, or is it top secret?
No, I'm actually gonna do a quick video this weekend on the design of how I did it. I'm printing a few parts on the 3D printer right now
Cool.
Nice.
at work, and I've got a lot of metal fab to do. So
Mhm.
yeah,
That's cool.
it'll be a couple parts. This is gonna take a couple weeks to get done.
Nice. Okay, cool. I like functional ram air, so I'm all about that. That's cool.
So how do you keep the water out of it?
You
This is
don't.
what I'm worried about.
You don't. So. I drove to Firebird Fest. I will tell you right now, the first year I went to Firebird Fest, it was raining so hard you couldn't see 15 feet probably in front of the car. And it goes really in the inserts of the hood, goes that airflow right into the engine. Engine didn't hit it, didn't miss a lick, ran just fine.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily ideal, but I bet you steam the inside of that engine makes it look real nice now. But I didn't have any troubles with it because even the factory Trans Ams didn't have flapper doors on them, but the
Right.
69 did. They put some bad weather doors on them on the GTO and the Firebird, but they really didn't seal up anyway. So
Yeah, I was curious about that. I didn't know if that foam that they used to seal the things to the underside of the hood allowed some of the moisture to escape, but I don't know.
no, but that's been 6 years ago, and I haven't any trouble having it. So
We'll find out.
It's a short path. That's all I got to say. I don't have the real long lengths to those inlets to the actual engine. So
Right.
the original one, it halfway down the hood before it actually gets to the engine. I think it would probably fall out and drain out before it got into it. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm using the full length tubes.
You are?
And I built a little adapter to drop it down in above I'll take you through it this week, but
yeah,
it should be pretty cool. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to look neat.
Is it kind of like that one you showed me? It had the little.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of like that one, except for I'm kind of fabricating the base out of aluminum, and then I'm doing a bunch of plastic on top, and
nice.
I'll have to scan in the bottom of the hood and try to get all that into CAD so I can figure it all out. But
that's fancy.
It'll look
aluminum foil.
Yeah. There you
Crush
go.
it down and figure out how much height I has. Here we go. So
That's actually a great idea.
yeah, I wad up balls of aluminum foil, and I shut the hood, and it would compress and keep the shape, and I could get no idea how much space I had. So
yeah, I'll have to straighten out my aluminum hat.
Conspiracies.
Yep.
Get my tinfoil hat straightened out and use that. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So Gus says, I saw Lewis did a quick look at his grounds. Curious, what do you guys use to ground engine frame, since grounds are normally the main issue?
So engine to frame, you can use either regular battery cable if you can crimp the ends right, or you can use braided cable, just the braided flat cable, like the factory uses.
Braided.
It depends how crazy you get. If you got the factory 35 amp all there, not a whole lot of electrical accessories, you don't gotta get real crazy. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got some. I don't know.
You got a bunch of hydraulics and air ride, or you got big stereo system. You might want to upgrade those grounds. So
yeah,
that's the copper grounds there on the firewall, and from the firewall torque box to the frame.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that can be bare wire. One other thing that I would throw out there on wiring those, be careful of your headers, your manifolds, and that stuff. They make some really nice high temp slip sleeving that you can run over wires now. Just like a little tube of this slip sleeve, heat shrink it on the top and the bottom, and that's the braided stuff there. But the slip sleeve stuff works really nice.
I love this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little thin. This one is. I like a little bit like a inch thick one, but I'm sold on these.
Yeah, absolutely, John Kilborn. You clean the mounting points wherever you're going to thread and tap or whatever. Clean it up good, get it to bare metal, put some dielectric grease on it, and then clamp it right on with a star washer.
Yep, I'm a big believer in the dielectrical grease too. Some people say it's a barrier and blah blah blah. Listen, I used that stuff on my 67 decades ago, and it never gave me problems, and it's still kicking.
Yeah, I use it on everything.
Raymond just got 2 more commercials about mushy dog poop.
Mushy dog poop?
It's just one of these long commercials that kept coming on. That chick from Grey's Anatomy, I don't even know what her name was, but apparently she's some big dog advocate now.
Ay.
Anyway.
Sweet. All right. Are we going to give Raymond, was it Raymond that had the question to answer the trivia?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to think of a prize for him. So Raymond, get a hold of me. We'll get you something in the mail. Thank you for answering the question. Any other comments from anybody?
Yep. Yeah, bedtime.
It seems like we're starting to.
Yeah.
It's bedtime. See, it's like 9:30 or 9.
Louis over here yawning.
Oh, it's
That's
9:50, man. I gotta put a lift. I gotta finish a lift tomorrow. I gotta
That's not
start
even
framing.
fun.
I gotta start framing a floor and all that tomorrow. So I need my sleep.
Beauty rest.
It's not even 7 o'clock yet.
You shut your mouth.
9:50 here in PA, buddy. 9:50.
Yep.
Yeah,
10
Brian
o'clock
won't be
here.
able to sleep. It's too damn hot out there.
So I want to tell everyone tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time, Louis has a new video coming out.
Oh.
It is a long video on doing the trunk in a 67 GTO.
Nice.
And I'm pimping it for him because I want you guys to watch because we want to get him over the hump and get him paid.
Yep. Just hit that goal. Make it happen.
So go watch it. Let it run the entire hour and 20 minutes. Just do it for Louis.
Put it on the loop. All right.
Yep.
It'll be running in the shop here tomorrow.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Get him over the hump.
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that in the video, Brian, because I haven't watched it in a while. But that GTO, I did it with actually a MIG welder and gas.
I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah, no flux core. You used it. Yep.
Yeah, I told Brian a kindergarten could well with that. Don't worry about it.
I can roll with gas.
Get my
Which
little buddy
reminds
out
me.
there in the garage with you.
Yeah.
Jacob out there.
So
Yeah, I do. I need to get them out here.
I think it's time that I buy a new welder. I have my father-in-law's welder from like 1929 that John used.
That dog didn't make it work. It's pretty rough.
I think I need to upgrade to something new. Any suggestions?
Eastwood.
Eastwood.
I like my Eastwood. I've had mine for 20 years and it just won't die. I tried to kill it. It just won't die.
Yep.
I've got
Okay,
a relic.
I'm telling you Monday morning, so
Okay.
I expect sponsorship, Eastwood. No, probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I use my Eastwood and brand new. I got that like 4 years now, I think. Brand new on a Christmas sale. I think I paid like $300. But I seen it go even cheaper than that now. The same welder. I think it's like, I don't know, maybe $180 to $200 now. And I use it for flux core, and I also use it with gas. And it works beautiful. I love it.
There's a suggestion for next week from James Judkins. Y'all need to explain sheet metal on welding tips.
Okay.
And that's actually a really good idea. I mean, there's a lot of things, little tricks and tips that we all do different. And of course, Louis out there all on his own with his flux core, but this may be the time to start picking his brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's magic. That's what that is. That's pure magic.
Yeah, that's some voodoo right there, my brother.
I'm going to make a video. I've been very busy here at the house. Like I said, tomorrow I'll be in the birdcage finishing the 4-post lift and framing out the floor. But once I finish doing those kind of things, I will put a flux core video because Jonathan been behind me, I think, for like 3 years on that already.
I know. You got magic. So.
Yeah, I definitely will put one, and it'll be very detailed too. And I'll show you guys all the welding you need to know, different welds you need to know for sheet metal.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Kilborn says gas is expensive.
It is.
It is.
It
It's
is.
not cheap.
It is. It is.
Maybe not in Arizona.
Yeah.
You know, that is one thing Jim brought up here, Jim MCD. It's important that when you buy a welder, you have your consumables readily available. I mean, if you run out of tips or something and you're in the middle of something, you know, you got to get it.
We have a great welding shop here in Queen Creek that John knows about. We're a couple miles down the road, easy to get along with, great pricing.
Yep.
Anything I need, this guy's on it. And that's Wayne over at used to be CarQuest. Now it's Car Brand Auto Parts. So since CarQuest pulled their franchises. But, yeah.
But anyway.
All right, so maybe next week it'd be welding then. We'll come up with something. So.
Welding, guys, give us a thumbs up in the comments if you want a welding video for next week.
If people need help with the flux core, I'll do it live.
Flux capacitor. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
This guy's
Flux
tired.
capacitor, Mike. Great, good, Mike.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks everybody for joining tonight.
Yeah.
It was a really good conversation. Love it.
Yep.
I'll
We'll
see
see
if I
you
can
guys
get my
next
camera to
Friday.
work more good or next week. So I don't know what's going on.
Yep. Next Friday, guys.
You have to hold your phone out like this, and then put your hand like this, and get the Wi-Fi signal.
Adjust the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
Foil on it. Put the foil back on it. Yeah.
Another thing this generation will never appreciate. Rabbit ear antennas.
Tune in Tokyo.
Hey, John, you saw those cartoon characters that this guy made of us, that Brian made of us?
Yeah, he's a character, all right.
We got some ideas coming on that.
Yeah, John, we need a theme song too.
Dang it.
We ain't that we not that famous yet, buddy. This guy is famous. He can have his own theme song. That's when you know you're a YouTube star. That's when you know he's in his own Hollywood, you know, to have his own theme song. Then he tells me I don't know Pontiac and that I got all these parts. I don't have my own song.
Louis, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., everyone's going to hear your new theme song on the video.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
So
you sounded kind of jealous there, John.
He's dropping it.
Yeah. This guy, you know, wow. When I heard that, I was like, wow, look at that. The Firebird Doctor.
There you go.
All
right, kids.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Good night. Take care.
Or
Good luck
stay
tomorrow.
cool where you're at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
I'm going to go put my jacket on so I can get to the car.
Make a rest for it. Yeah. See y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Good
See
night.
you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys.
Later.
We're done.